SJ. Welcome to Mvskoke Radio, your weekly source for tribal and community news, interesting guests and discussions, plus a local events calendar. SJ Stongo, Gary Fife, Jahu Jefkidos, Mvskoke Radio, Mabo Edget Wedgekis. Welcome to our program here in this beginning of December here, and beautiful, beautiful weather out here in Okmulgee here today. So if you get a chance, go out and enjoy it and have a good holiday. A couple things we'll be sharing here today. We have a Mvskoke chef we'll be speaking with on phone. He is working on traditional foods plus special things for the holidays. So maybe you want to get out your pencil and paper and take down a recipe or two, or see about talking to him about his material. And reaching back into our archives from last year, we had two Native comedian women who were in town to talk to a health conference. We wanted to brighten the day there, so we'll speak with Tanya Jo Hall, alias Auntie Beatrice, and Alana Eagleshield. So we intend to have an enjoyable program there. So first of all, let me get Mr. Anthony Warrior on the line. Let's see if we got him here. Okay, Mr. Warrior, you with us, sir? Okay, did I just cut him off? Well, we can try that one again, if you'll just hang on.
What you need?
What? I think I just cut him off.
Oh, good. You gotta hit this button here to get him in there.
Yeah. So we are fumbling around here. So
calling back?
Hang on. We got you, Mr. Warrior, you there?
Don't go.
Oh, okay, we got him. Yeah, I thought I had lost you there. It must be a day for fumbling with the buttons, I think. Okay, well, SJ, don't go.
DJ, wife and Mvskoke people.
Herimai. Okay, well, first of all, we have got some information that you are a chef and had been working on some projects there, and had something occasionally for the holidays that you had lined up and has working on. So is that the case?
That is very true. I've been a practice chef for about 20-some years, and have really been working on a Native American Food Consortium for the past 10 years, and it's mainly been in the efforts to help fight diabetes and a lot of our issues that are going on with us health-wise now.
Mm-hmm. So it sounds like there's not too much fry bread in there.
Occasionally.
Occasionally, you got to have it occasionally. I mean, you know.
But, yeah.
It's wonderful to hear that you concentrated on providing alternatives to some of the high-fat and carbohydrate foods that we have been having as part of our diet. But is there an overall project that you're working on with this with these recipes and these foods?
Yeah, currently we're trying to put together, there is a large group of Native chefs across the United States that are actually coming forward now. And each of us are finding the traditional foods that we once had, and foraging is a big thing. And we're trying to get all this information together and make it accessible to, my hopes is to get it to the Indian Health Services and our caregivers, so that they have an alternative to helping with providing food and nutrition that we were once used to and have been genetically modified in the past 120 to 200 years. That's been becoming very known to be bad for us. So that's kind of the efforts.
And what form does your project take? You actually preparing foods for sale for a restaurant, recipes? How's your work shaping up?
Yeah, currently I started out with going onto the social sites, Facebook, posting up my Diabetes Down program, showing how to make traditional foods kind of contemporary. I have a website that I'm actually still working on, but it's called Warriors Palette, and that's on Facebook currently. And I'm actually working with the Indian Health Services here in the North Country, including New York, and currently here in Northeast Nebraska, and doing cooking classes, doing food recognition classes, and also helping the young ones learning how to eat differently than what they are seeing now. So recipes and everything is falling into place following this 10-year research and journey.
Well, let's take a second here. I don't generally do this too often, but since you're a Mvskoke person, tell me a little bit about your family and your home back here.
Yeah, so kind of grew up around the Cushing area. Grandma Rose Albert married my grandpa Louis Warrior, and we kind of branched off through the Warrior family into the Watashis over by Glenpool and Sapulpa area. And we also have family of the Buckleys down by Sand Creek. And we used to go to Sand Creek Baptist Church growing up, and just kind of branched through the whole Uchee and Mvskoke Creek area over the years.
And now you're working up north with this other project. When I first saw your listing, it was in New York, I believe, and I thought, wow, we got a Mvskoke guy way up there.
Yeah, and just recently I did a piece for the Smithsonian with Dennis Zotai and doing traditional foods for the holidays, too. That's available on the Smithsonian site. He asked for a traditional dessert, kind of vegetarian or vegan style, so that's also available.
There's been a lot of discussion of that. Many of our traditional foods were actually kind of vegan, but also, of course, Etho, Ijo, a couple of Yanessa here and there. But tell me what kind of things that you actually prepare. How do you spend your time with them?
So being able to be versed in Six Nations, the Iroquois Confederacy, Cherokees, and even visiting the homelands of the Mvskokes out east and into Florida, had the opportunity to work with a lot of elders and also some documentation from the 1600s, Spanish documentations. So I've kind of got a good variety of foods that were traded and once known. So I do have some recipes and some ideas that can kind of take you back that we can also make contemporary so that you can also try them at home too.
Okay, well, it looks like we're going to have a little extra time here today, so we'll get into a couple of those. Now, when we talk about more traditional foods, do any particular varieties come to mind when we say traditional food?
Yeah, if we look at kind of the geographical area of the Mvskokes, and most of our historians know this, there was a wide variety of sustainable foods. And just a couple of the recipes that I have today, I'd like to center in on kind of the wild turkey, of course, very lean meat, and kind of traditional for this time of year. Also, my grandmother's favorite was catfish. We had many streams and availability of many types of fish. And then one of the other ones was actually the deer. We had a lot of that. And you're very right. We had a lot of dishes that were very vegetarian because it takes a lot of meat to sustain a village of 2,000 to 3,000 people, and not all the time we had, so that was very well documented also by the Spanish in the way we eat.
And we were known as quite successful farmers and had huge plots of different vegetables and things growing.
Yeah, absolutely. We had, very many varieties of pumpkins. And I also researched that many of our harvest songs and had kind of a connection to the way we planted and the way we actually harvested our foods. Corns, beans, and squash, of course, being some of our main staples. But our food sources went way above that. We foraged a lot of foods in those hills, and they're still being foraged today by people who actually followed the ways of the Mvskokes.
What kind of foods would those be? Do you any names come to mind there?
Yeah, we have, the many different varieties of mushrooms. There's so much nutrients in mushrooms, and it's also known that milkweeds, a lot of our greens around the area, like wild sorrel, sumac bushes, sassafras root, sassafras tea, they provided more vitamins than most of our meats did, and we were able to survive just on a couple of those things. There were wild rice varieties that were grown by specific tribes. One that's becoming prevalent now is called a Carolina Gold. It's a yellow rice, very packed with nutrients, and those are being brought back to the main light. And of course we go back to our Softies and our other drinks that we have, different corn varieties, blue flint, our white corns. All those things have different purposes in our foods.
Yeah, I'm starting to get hungry now. You mentioned wild rice up there. My wife is Ojibwe at Leech Lake. And I've, of course, over the years been introduced to Monoman. Their wild rice that coming out of the lakes and things. Do you work with that at all? Do you have any recipes there?
Yeah, we got a lot of those too, and I will, due to time constraints, I will direct you to a couple of good sites that I also go to and find some ideas for recipes. But the wild rice has become very, very much prevalent in today's resourcing of our natural foods, and the wild rice actually can be sustained through all seasons, so we don't have to wait on it for the spring. We can actually dry it and use it for different things and all kinds of stuff. So it's a very good source of protein and carbohydrate.
Right, and actually quite a kind of a ceremony that goes along with the preparation of that rice for storage and things like that. When we are talking about wild rice here, we're talking about the kind that comes out of the lakes up there, kind of a golden. Is that right?
That's correct. And it was also known in some of those that many of the families that had their own little areas on the tribal town actually had dugout areas where they actually planted rice and had water beds. So kind of a neat little concept.
Yeah. Now this is to be separate from what you might find in a commercial grocery store, where the quote wild rice unquote is kind of dark, almost coffee bean color. That's paddy rice, right?
Yeah, that's correct. And if we're looking at kind of a new era of foraging and regenerating these seeds again to find these cousins, chains are finding very much a lot of good revenue from that. And one of the things that they really find is that, like a place called Whole Foods, they carry different varieties of wild rices, and a lot of them have been traded through our water trade routes, all the way up from South America, and even brought in from as far north as Leech Lake. So it's kind of really neat how the journey of food has made its way up and down our lake systems and river systems.
Besides wild rice, are there other more traditional foods that are generally available to our people and I guess the public today?
Absolutely. So I have these recipes ready to go, and we can put a whole meal on your table if you're ready. I have a couple good ideas for you.
Okay, Ramona, are you listening? Hoping my wife has got her pencil busy. We're going to get to a couple of those in a few minutes here, but I'm still curious about how these kinds of things can integrate into today's diet. Now, I mentioned, available Whole Foods or wherever else you might be able to get wild rice or anything, and of course corn and things like that. But are there others that we may not be thinking of too much when we're taking a trip to the grocery store? Yeah,
one of the things as one of my first recipes, you'll have what they call pawpaw. It's one of the only northernmost citrus fruits that can actually grow this far north of the equator, and it's rampant up through the eastern all the way up into Ohio Valley River region. And there's actually songs amongst many Native people about the pawpaws.
Picking up pawpaws, put them in a basket.
Yeah, you know the old song.
That old song. Probably the only one.
Yeah, and there's other wild things like sunchokes, also called the Jerusalem artichoke. It's very well packed, and a person could sustain their whole nutrition system just off of a sunchoke. There are some side effects, and if you're around a bunch of people, you probably want to keep yourself quiet, and that's not one of the foods you want to eat. But sunchokes are very packed with nutrients.
Is that sort of like the same effect beans have?
Well, probably twice as much because of the fiber content and everything else. I live on sunchokes. Sunchokes are a diabetic food. They actually help stimulate insulin in your body.
Mm-hmm. Okay, well,
so
that's a medicinal value there.
Yeah, And there's something else that we have is like pumpkins. So there's so many different varieties of pumpkins that are now available that weren't once available, and each one has a different texture. And if you look at some of the smaller communities like Mennonites and Hutterites and some of the smaller communities that kind of isolate themselves, a lot of that seed is actual native seed that we brought back. So that's always kind of neat. They're coming available. Of course, the sumac berries, when the tree starts to turn red, those berries that grow on top, those seed, that's actually very edible. And they give a kind of a citrus peppery taste, and you can find those rampant. And they're starting to offer those online for sale. It's kind of neat. Sorrel comes in many forms. Sorrel's a leafy green and very similar to a spinach or a watercress leaf. That was always added into a lot of soups and fillers. We're getting, there's things. All these things are still very much available. Hickory nuts, the Chalaki have a really good kanachi made with hickory nuts.
Yeah, I've had some.
Yeah.
What about something like poke salad? People talk about have it around here. You can actually go out and find it along roadways and things.
Yeah, poke salad is something that we had growing up, and if the bitterness is always there, of course, but many times we eat for taste. Many times, we forget to mention that food back years ago, 200, 300 years displaced, wasn't for comfort. It wasn't for taste. It was actually for sustenance and to continue life. So there were a lot of things that we ate, and I was always told by one of my grandpas that whatever a deer eats, we can eat. How true that is anymore, I don't know, because we've genetically modified ourselves. But if you were out in the woods and you saw a deer eating something, you knew you could eat that too.
That sounds wonderful. Now, we have began looking at holidays and holiday festivals and, of course, meals and things like that. Most people think of a big turkey with their families and things, which actually is changing because of this virus thing. But are there other holiday-oriented kind of foods that come to mind there?
Yeah, of course, during our harvest ceremonies, that was a good time, green corn ceremonies and being with each other. We celebrated a lot of this harvest. There's, the pumpkins and the beans, different types of beans, not the ones you kind of see commercially, but there are some direct descendants of these beans, if you want to mention that, that are still available. So beans is always a big thing to sustain us. And then creating these breads, these dukkalegas that would last us through the winter times, dried breads and the way we harvested. We celebrate food a lot, and that's one good thing that we have. And when it comes time for the fall season, or early fall season, we start, celebrating like the hickory nuts, the acorn nuts, and all these different tree nuts and peanuts that we look for. So we're still there. We just got to recognize that they're still available to us.
Yeah, you just got to put in the time to go out and find them and collect them. Let's see, what else wild onions. Oh, God. Oh. My mouth really starts watering when I think about it.
Yeah.
Defumbachi, yes. Where does that fit in? We obviously, have to enjoy it during the spring, but where does it fit into the more traditional diets?
Yeah, wild onions are still available, and you know what? We were able to dry those, and still use them as the year went on. So it's just like you go to a store and you see a chive or an onion that's dried, and you can still use it, much like drying our pumpkins and our corn. A lot of our preservation methods have been lost, but yeah, the wild onions best in the spring when they're fresh. And whether you use store-bought eggs or farm eggs, we had access to different types of eggs, and I know that the springtime was the best time for that combination. I see that as the derivative of a springtime delicacy. Onions are used worldwide as a aromatic for foods, and so we still have those. And there are wild carrots here that in the French cooking, the onion, the carrots, and the celeries are basis for all soups and sauces. And we still have those available in wild. We've cultivated those over the years, so that's a good wild onion references. Eggs in the springtime with those.
Oh boy, yeah, I'm getting in line at the church for the dinners.
Yes.
Now, we have, I mentioned pumpkins a couple of times now. Let's take a second to examine that a little further. Now, we know that obviously pies come to mind. People think of pies, but now they're seeing pumpkin spice pop up in all kinds of foods, including coffees and lattes and things like that. But what else can we do with a pumpkin? You've got this really incredible fruit and all these seeds and things, and of course the meat. So how about an idea or two of what to do with a pumpkin besides making a pie?
Yeah, so if you look at those kind of all spiky pumpkins and the different varieties they sell for like decoration pumpkins, and I was referenced one time from a woodland forager that said the American people are the only ones that take a fruit as bountiful as a pumpkin and turn it into a non-edible decoration. So whether that's funny or not, but the pumpkin had many.
Yeah, I can see. It comes to mind all these pumpkins sitting on somebody's front porch, all drying out, and the smile is starting to turn into a grimace, and they're going, things like that. But what about adding it to things like coffees and teas and things like that?
Yeah, so a pumpkin spice is kind of a blend of like ginger and cinnamon and nutmeg and clove and all those really aromatic things. We did have specific items that were made for that, but pumpkins are versatile in our food. You could dehydrate them, you could slice them thin, dehydrate them, make long threads. You could weave them into like mats and carry them with you. So like storage of your food came in different ways, but added to soups, pounded into breads, mixed with our pounded white corn to make cakes that were able to take on the trips. We always talk about the tamale revolution, and tamales from the South, were often traded up and down the river systems because they were so versatile. And being able to take pumpkin and put it into the cornmeal, wrap them in our corn husk, we had trade routes and war routes that actually carried the people could carry their food so quickly, and one tamale could sustain you for the whole day. So those pumpkins could be put in soups, tamales. We could also use them for just roasting in the ground and then eating them straight like that. So that was a great food source.
Okay, well, we're kind of hitting all around it here, but let's take a few minutes and talk about a recipe. Do you have a favorite that you would suggest that people try?
Yeah, I do miss my grandma's parched corn tea, but she always had a sour cornbread mix, and we talk about the sour cornbread, some joking and stuff like that, but she had a way of doing it around the house, and she had a pot that she'd leave the lid turned upside down or turned on its right side, depending on how far the stage was in the bread. And that's a good process, a good way to process bread and to be able to make it transportable and stuff like that. And, unfortunately, I didn't get her direct recipe, and I know there's a lot of recipes out there, but that's one of my favorite ones from her. But moving into one of my favorite ones, I rather enjoyed a roasted venison with toasted hickory nuts, the wild onions, and milkweed pulp. That was a good meal, and it's very traditional, very good for you, and very lean. So for the holiday season,
that sounds wonderful. We just wrapped up the rifle hunting season here, and so maybe we'll take a few seconds to talk about best ways to prepare venison. Closest I got was watching the back end of one wandering through the bushes there, and couldn't get a clean shot at him. So I said, okay, well, maybe some other time. But are there really things to do with venison that you would suggest?
Yeah, of course, drying it, preserving it. And one of the other things, too, is after the venison was actually cleaned and kind of distributed to the families, each one of them would ration that, And one of the ways is, of course, fire, posting it thin strips and putting over fire to kind of preserve it. But a lot of people don't realize that we had honeys, that we had wild berries, and that we had nuts, that you could actually take that deer meat and process it and make what the word is now is called pemmican. And it's pounding all those wild berries into that deer meat and making it kind of like a jerky. and it kind of preserved a lot longer than just quickly eating it, And so our process is breaking off that pemmican, adding it back to soups and stews, even just eating it straight. We taught a lot of our American and English people these processes, and helped them sustain their life. So they carry on our traditions in many ways.
What about bunwa, some turkey? Do you have any recipes for turkey? I know a lot of people are going to be preparing it, but maybe some new methods, perhaps.
Yeah, so wild turkey or a quail. We had a very vast, varieties of quails along with it all, whichever bird you want to use. But one of the things I use is the wild turkey roasted. I do a lot of salt, pepper, some different seasonings, and then I make it with a pawpaw glaze. Or if you don't have pawpaws handy, you can actually make an apricot glaze. So once you roast the turkey, get it going, salt, pepper, that kind of good stuff. Roasting it, however you want to do it. You can smoke it also. That was a good practice for us. And then when it's almost done, hitting it with a pawpaw or apricot glaze. Very, very good recipe. Get that salty and sweet.
So is there a particular technique you would suggest for roasting a turkey?
Yeah, I do what they call a spatchcock, and that's where you take the turkey and you lay it flat, just for the purpose of you can use lower temperatures. You don't have to kind of dry your turkey out by trying to roast the whole bird and get the internal to cooked. You just cut down the backbone and lay it out flat, and then you kind of get it rubbed up with whatever recipe you like using. And personally, I've smoked some, I've cooked some on an open fire, and I've always used like a corn husk to cover it to keep it from drying out, and that was always really nice. So that's just one kind of traditional way too. And the cook time is a lot less than if you would put it in a oven for like 3 hours. You can probably have it done in about 45 minutes to an hour.
Ooh, that's going to sound good to a lot of people now. Let's see, where are we here time-wise? We've got just a little bit left, but how about something like a dessert, some kind of sweet?
Yeah, we had a lot of sweets. Of course, natural sweetness is good to us, and we crave it, and it's actually ingrained in our minds to have sweets. We're programmed to find things that are enticing to us. So I go with the fire roasted pumpkin. Once you fire roast the whole pumpkin, you pull the shell off of it, and then you get into the meat. Then you take pecans and wild honey, and you mix those into the pumpkin, kind of mashing it into like a sweet potato mash almost, with the pecans and wild honey. And then I also add a little parched corn on top to kind of give it a little bit of crunch and some earthiness to it. So that's a good dessert. And one other one I also have is actually take the blue cornbread or the blue dumplings, taking your cornmeal, mixing it with the dumplings and possum grapes or whichever kind of sweetener you got for it, mixing it together and then boiling it, with a little bit of back years ago, it had probably been young corn stalks because they add a lot of sugar to it, So, but today you can still do those if you do grow your own corn.
Well, there are a lot of folks out there doing that, you can imagine. Now, I'm sure there are going to be some people who are going to be interested in your information here now. If they wanted to, first of all, find some of your recipes, where would they go?
Yeah, you can find me on Facebook currently. The difficult with today's life is we have to sustain jobs, and we constantly work all the time. And I'm actually still in college. I think 22 years in college. I should be a doctor, but I'm not.
Second semester, you're second semester junior, are you?
That's correct. I probably should have went to high school for that, but I've traveled all over, but
we do have the college of the Mvskoke Nation here now,
Absolutely. We're working with you guys with the Nebraska Indian Community College and also Pawnee Nation. So,
all right.
Yep. Anthony Warrior, Facebook is where I'm at. My Facebook page is Warrior's Palette. I need to maintain that a little better. But if anybody wants to find me on these sites, I'm glad to share recipes with you and also some of my research. There's a lot of Facebook Native American recipes that are out there that I've actually inputted a lot of input on, and gardening for Three Sisters Gardens. Those are on Facebook. And that's kind of where I'm at right now. Eventually, maybe I need to get into actually having another cookbook and kind of working through some different things once I get my graduate and all that kind of stuff. So.
Okay, when are you going to be down home ways?
Well, I just left. I was down there, and I wanted to give honor and tribute to the Duck Creek people. And, we were at the ceremonial grounds. It was good to see all the people, and I send my prayers to all those that have suffered through this time, and suffered through this virus. So I'm planning on bringing my family down to rejoin many of these tribal towns and church grounds that I once belonged to, and I hope to do that by next summer when we get back into our, spring planting seasons and stuff like that. And, I also belong to absentee Shawnee people. That's my grandfather's side, so I practice there. But many of our tribal town people know our family. So hopefully you'll see us this summer. Things will get better.
All right. Well, let me know when you're down around our way, and maybe we'll have another chat here on the show.
Absolutely. Let's set up a little cooking place for us, shall we?
Okay, yeah, let's see about doing that, and particularly something really traditional. Okay,
Absolutely.
well, we want to say, Mado Anthony Warrior, we appreciate you making time with us here and giving us some great ideas for holiday meals, and we'll look forward to talking with you again. Mado.
Yeah, Mado, yes.
Okay. That was Anthony Warrior, Mvskoke chef. He's talking about things edible that he's working with and could be provided for the holidays. We're going to take a short pause here, and then we'll be back. We'll be speaking with Lori Jump about new initiatives in finding resources for missing and murdered women and abuse and things like that from the Strong Heart organization. So please stay with us here on Mvskoke Radio.
I started doing it when I was 11. I wanted to be just like my big brother. And some of my friends were already doing it. We got hooked fast. I just can't get enough. I'm Jacob, and I'm addicted to playing the drums.
There's lots of stuff that makes it cool to be Native. Doing meth isn't one of them. Find something better to do. Check out ncai.org. A message from the Partnership for a Drug-Free America and the National Congress of American Indians.
Hear that? That's the sound of Hope being killed by meth. Methamphetamine use is causing huge problems in our community. Hear that? That's the sound of something you can do about it. Events like rodeo, res ball, and family time can help keep kids away from meth.
Talk to your kids. Keep our culture alive. A message from the Partnership for a Drug-Free America and the National Congress of American Indians.
Learn more at ncai.org.
Who am I? Am I Native? I don't want people assuming things because I'm Indian. I just want to be me. But how do I live in two worlds? Some guys just check out by doing meth. But that ain't for me. Because I see my family, my friends, my drum making, my future. There are a lot of cool things about being who I am. And meth isn't one of them.
Learn more at ncai.org. A message from the Partnership for a Drug-Free America and the National Congress of American Indians.
Okay, well, seeing how this is live radio and things do change even at the last minute, we were hoping to speak with the folks from Strong Heart about their new project there to help Native women. But in the meantime, I'd like to share this piece we spoke of earlier with Tanya Jo Hall. Now, some people know her as Auntie Beatrice, and Alana Igleshield. They were down in our neck of the woods in Okima talking to a health conference, and we managed to get some of their time. So let's check that out.
Then I'm from Standing Rock.
My name is Tanya Jo Hall, and I come from Standing Rock and the 3 affiliated tribes.
Okay, now, most Native people who've been around a little bit are familiar with a string of Native comics. They were mostly males. Charlie Hill comes to mind, and a couple of others who have been around the country. But I remember my first encounter with the Four Ladies of Native Comedy, which you were a strong part of. Is it time? I mean, do you fill a gap here? Is there something that's been a little missing here?
Yeah.
A simple way to put it. What are your thoughts there?
I'm just now starting to own that I could possibly be a comedian. So it's so new to me. Yeah, I mean, Tanya, I do think is definitely climbing that ladder. She's up there on the no. I think Tanya definitely has it. I don't know.
Well, I have to agree with her. I mean, I've kind of watched you. I've seen the videos, performances that you've been booked for and things like that. Is the career growing for you?
Is it growing? Yeah, definitely. It's been a ladder since 2014 on up. It's been going strong. This had been the busiest year in 2018, so I'm really grateful for that.
How busy is that? Are you booked every week, every month? How does that work out?
Probably once a week, every week for a month. Yeah.
And is it a team now that you're working together, or are you still working like on solo careers?
We're doing both. We're having our sessions together on self-healing and culture and comedy, but we're also doing our own thing too, getting solo bookings. And so it's very we're together and we're also doing our own career. So we're not I don't know how else to say it.
So you're not welded together.
Exclusive.
I mean,
yeah, we're not. Yeah, we're a team, but we also support each other in our solo careers too.
Now, in my first interview with Tonya on our radio show a couple of years ago, the question I asked her was, what is it about your humor that appeals to Native American people?
Tanya's?
Yours.
Oh.
Or in general.
I think really just growing up on a reservation, we all can relate to having aunties and uncles or experiences on the res, going, parties or just that one store or being nosy or, everything. We all have really common threads on reservations. And so I think that's what is so funny about it, because we all know, And I think when we talk about like, oh, that's your auntie now, ask her for money. Everybody can relate to it because we do that. That's just how it is. Or when cops are going by, we all open our curtains or call next door neighbor or call our auntie who knows everything. What happened? What's going on? So that's relatable. And just reservation life is relatable, I think.
Well, you've just described tribal communities here in Oklahoma too, where there aren't any reservations. It's kind of like we're all kind of nosy about each other, so to speak. Now, the changes that we've seen happening in our communities have been more opening. Women are playing a much stronger role in leadership, all kinds of categories, and now this one, I think you just nailed it. I watched the audience tonight, and they were just delighted with it. Is that the kind of thing you're looking for? What do you expect to deliver to an audience?
Laughter. I want them to feel good. I want them to relate, but I want them to leave motivated. I want them to say, hey, I could do that too. Whatever it is I'm sharing with the motivational speeches with my sister Elena, like with our message, I want them to leave inspired, like, wow, I should go pray. I should start out my morning with gratitude. I should smudge more. Like all these things help me take care of myself. So mostly I want them to have self-love and then get laughter along the way too, like nail them with laughter. Oh. Good thing that one.
Whoa! Too bad this is a microphone instead of a camera. Now, I had asked you last time we talked about what is it about your humor that really appeals to Indian people?
I think it's just native. It's just reservation life that relates to them. They might know somebody that reminds them of Auntie Beatrice and acts like that. Like she's stern, she's a lean, mean fighting machine. She says anything she wants, she'll fight. She's not scared of the law. She treats men like they're just a napkin. Wipe your hands and you're done.
I know there have to be a lot of women who are saying, yeah, that's right, go girl. So you're kind of taking on that role of spokesperson for them. I mean, that's pretty big responsibility, I'd say, isn't it?
No, I'm just being myself, and I feel like the things that I share, like as a motivational speaker, are sharing a piece of what I have and what I've learned, and I'm just sharing it with the audience, and what they take is their responsibility. Whatever they take from our motivational speeches or what they take from my comedy is up to them. It's their responsibility if they want to go and use it for negative or positive.
I noticed there's a lot of kind of insider humor there, particularly like powwows and things like that, or chasing a truck full of commodity cheese or something like that. Stuff that only an Indian would know, I think. What is it you think that works, makes people laugh?
I think really a lot of action, because we all know what it's like, even if we're non-native. We have friends that are non-native, but they have gone through the same similar, whatever it is, it's action. Like if we're in fights or if we're, whatever it is, we relate in that way through action, through experiences that aren't, I don't know. Just
Is there a difference when you're working to a non-native audience? I don't know if you do clubs or anything like that, but in a concert situation or conference kind of things, do you kind of shape your comedy to each segment, like Indians and then non-Indians? Does that happen?
I feel like I've just been traveling Indian country right now. I will break out when the time comes, but for me, that's probably what I will do. I will adjust to the crowd, whatever the crowd is and what I think can relate to them. Like everyone can relate to kids, everyone can relate to breakups, everyone can relate to dysfunction. There's all kinds of stuff that is relatable that can be used if it's a non-native crowd. There's been non-natives in the crowd with a crowd of Indians, like plenty of times, and they're laughing just as hard because they know they can relate in their own kind of way. Maybe it's not fry bread, but maybe it's just baked bread. Maybe it's not res dogs, maybe it's just dogs in general. Like we just put res and our own little twist on it. And so I do feel like I just adjust to my environment, just like everyone, as a comedian. And I use, when I go to different reservations or different places, I try to do a little bit of homework on who's the who in the area, like what are some slang words, like what are some current events, and then I just clown on those.
What are your thoughts? Same question.
I think I agree with Tanya. I'm just now starting out, and so I haven't been to any outsiders or non-Indigenous people yet. But I definitely think there's so much that we can relate to that are not just, about res commodity cheese or, these. But we all have aunties that spank other kids. We all have, just crazy things that we go through that aren't not just reservations. And so I'm excited to see how that'll shape down the road.
You two look like you have a lot of fun when you do this. And we watched the energy flow, the way people reacted, the laugh, the improvisation, like on a busted boot there.
That was so funny.
So that's pretty amazing stuff. Does it take a lot of energy out of you to work a show like that?
Yeah, surprisingly, since I've been doing comedy, or if I do any speaking, you're exerting energy. So you're giving your happy energy, you're excited, your vulnerability, your stories, and all of that. Your energy is coming off, and so right now I just feel like so exhausted.
Yeah, and I've been speaking since I was a little kid, and it definitely, you're giving a piece of yourself, your heart, your spirit, and you're offering it, all the things that you've experienced and lived through, you're offering that to people. And it's not like an exhausted where you're like, oh, it's like, oh, that was beautiful. You know, like you feel the energy, but you feel like, wow, just like a good workout. You feel this is like a wicked brain and spiritual workout, and you feel good, but you're definitely ready to go to bed. Ready to get re-energized. So, yeah, take it. I mean,
Yeah, the show that you did tonight was more motivational, I think, in like at least 50%. It's a difference from straight comedy, I would presume. So when you work a conference like this with such important topics, which heavy-duty stuff, what do you try to do to blend the comedy and the message?
Use our real stories and use the humor in them. Like, it is funny when somebody tries to cook and they're drinking, because everyone had that experience out there and they thought that was funny. And so if it's relatable, just saying it, you know, like even how you say it, like, he was trying to cook, you know, like, this guy was just trying to cook, make Indian tacos at 2 a.m. Well, I ate one, but still, you know.
What do you think?
What was the question again? Sorry.
Blending this, the element of comedy with an important message, like was being addressed here at this conference.
I think it's really important to do that, because there's easier ways, like comedy, to get points across and messages across, especially with deep stuff like that, because we could easily be standing up here crying about our stories, right? But we know that laughter is the best medicine, and that laughter, even in our everyday lives, when something's going on, we're constantly teasing and laughing and, you know, helping each other through situations with laughter and joking. And so we know that our people have suffered and persevered through, you know, all the United States federal laws and genocide, and we've persevered through uplifting each other and making sure that we, you know, laugh about situations, or we would be very angry people, but we're not, you know.
Okay, I'm just about done with you all, so let you go collapse. Is there a line that you will not cross in what you talk about, whether it's like personal family or tragedy you've had to deal with, or the situation of Native people in general?
No, I don't. I mean, for me, I think even though I'm just starting out, there's still so much growth that I have done and that I continue to do, that we always laugh about it. You know, in hindsight, we're like, oh my God, why was I acting like that? I can't believe I handled it that way. Or, you know, and then I don't think there's a line that I wouldn't cross, because we can learn something from every single situation. We may not laugh at that very moment, but down the road, we'll always find something funny about it, right? So, not for me. There's not a line.
Same question.
Oh, what was it?
Is there a line that you will not cross, a subject you won't discuss or bring into your comedy? Is there kind of a borderline there?
No. That's all I got.
That's all right. Okay, well, I tell you what, and finally we'll say, is there a message you want to leave with our Mvskoke Creek people now that you're down here in our part of the world?
I think each and every one of you have a message to share. You have a story that has created your reality right now, and no matter what that is, whether you're comedians, whether you give motivational speeches, no matter what it is, each and every one of you have a story to tell. You have someone that you love and someone that you care about, and either you've been loved before by, even if it's your best friend, your dog, your grandma, your grandpa, you each have a chance to share that with somebody. And so I encourage you to share that love, share that humor, share your story, because it could be a lesson for anybody.
Mm-hmm. Message for the Mvskoke?
Hi. My message to the Mvskoke people would be laugh as much as you can, not take life too seriously. Even there's a lot of serious stuff in this world, but find your inner child. Dance every once in a while. Even if we all love music, and when a song comes on, shake it. Whatever shakes, let it shake. Have fun. Have fun. It doesn't matter how old you are. Too many times we say we're old. Well, you're old if you're saying you're old, but we can all have a young spirit.
Who am I? Am I Indian? Just 'cause I'm a girl from the res, don't make things up about me. What if I move away? Then who am I? Some kids try meth just to escape, but then I think about my grandma, my little brother, my beadwork, my poetry, and I think, I like who I am, and I know meth is not for me.
Check out ncai.org, a message from the Partnership for a Drug-Free America and the National Congress of American Indians.
Who am I? Am I native? I don't want people assuming things because I'm Indian. I just want to be me. But how do I live in two worlds? Some guys just check out by doing meth. But that ain't for me. Because I see my family, my friends, my drum making, my future. There are a lot of cool things about being who I am. And meth isn't one of them.
Learn more at ncai.org, a message from the Partnership for a Drug-Free America and the National Congress of American Indians.
Okay. And hope everyone is out there finding a chance to laugh and have a good one. Very sound advice. That was Tanya Johal and Elena Eagleshield, both from the Lakota reservations up north. And many of you might find Tanya Joe's alter ego is Auntie Beatrice, a woman, she says, every family has an Auntie Beatrice. So let's hope and take your message to heart there. Perhaps we'll have one of those ladies come down and join the festival some year. Anyway, let's hope. I tell you what, since we're getting into the Christmas season, we want to start looking at it. And going through my archives, I found a couple of things that were kind of cool. And this one is actually from 2013. It is just a selection of Christmas greetings from different members of the Mvskoke Nation. So let's sit around and listen to some great greetings.
Hello, my name is Minnie Proctor from the Language Department at Mvskoke Creek Nation. I would like to wish Merry Christmas to my family and all of Mvskoke Creek Nation employees and to all our veterans.
This is Judy Montiel from Henrietta, Oklahoma. I would like to wish a very Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year to my brothers and sisters in Christ at Hickory Ground No. 1 Baptist Church. May God bless each and every one.
Hello, my name is Coco Lowe. I'm from Henrietta, Oklahoma, and I would like to wish a Merry Christmas to my family, my friends, and all the employees at Mvskoke Creek Nation. Have a Happy New Year.
Hello, my name is Newman Frank. I'm from Glenpool. I want to wish a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year to all my members at Conjardi and Bicazita, and my family, and all of Mvskoke Creek Nation citizens.
Hochtit sa hotzif kados. Hianita zaroslako osat istio malgat sa vinsagi na omalgat imahitlagi itso huyani bagat komet os madu.
My name is Philip Harjo, and I'd like to say Merry Christmas to all my family and friends out there, and Merry Christmas and Happy New Year.
My name is Gracine Hicks from Okemo, Oklahoma. I want to say Merry Christmas to my family, my friends, and everybody at Creek Nation. You have a safe Merry Christmas and a safe New Year. God bless you.
My name is Rebecca Barnett. I'm from Hannah, Oklahoma, and I'd like to say Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year to all my friends, family, and all the people at Creek Nation.
Merry Friday, Jahojifkados, Glenpool, Adaidos. I want to say Merry Christmas to my family and all the people at the Creek Nation and their families. Have a safe holidays. Mado.
We would like to wish the Principal Chief of Mvskoke Creek Nation, the Second Chief of Mvskoke Creek Nation, a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year.
And we'd like to share those sentiments with all members of the Mvskoke Creek Nation. We're hearing in the news that there is talk of a vaccine against the COVID-19 virus. That is wonderful news for the holidays, a wonderful gift for all the people of the world. Let's hope that things work out and we can see that vaccine continue to grow positive. First time we've changed the meaning of that word in a while. And remind you that there are similarities and differences between flu and COVID-19. Now, I just had my flu shot the other day, and I thought it might be worthwhile to take a couple of minutes here to talk to you about the similarities and differences between flu and COVID-19. It's important since this is the season pretty much for both of them. Now, influenza and COVID-19 are both contagious respiratory illnesses, but they're caused by different viruses. Now, COVID-19 is caused by infection with a new coronavirus called SARS-CoV-2, and flu is caused by infection with influenza viruses. Now, there are some key differences between flu and COVID-19. COVID-19 seems to spread more easily than flu and causes more serious illnesses in some people. It can also take longer before people show symptoms, and people can be contagious for longer periods. Now, another important difference is there is a vaccine to protect against flu, and there is currently a vaccine in the works to prevent COVID-19. So let's hope there's some success there. The best way to prevent infection is to avoid being exposed to the virus. Now, more information about differences between flu and COVID-19 is available. Now, some of the symptoms of flu and COVID-19 are similar. It may be hard to tell the difference between them based on symptoms alone, and testing may be needed to help confirm a diagnosis. Flu and COVID-19 share many differences, but there are some key differences between the two. Well, more is learned every day. There's still a lot that is unknown about COVID-19 and the virus that causes it. Now, we are looking for the best information that's available to date, and we're hoping that people can use this information to help avoid the flu and the COVID-19. Both would take some common sense about how you conduct yourself and taking care of yourself. Now, both COVID-19 and flu have varying differences of signs and symptoms ranging from no symptoms, asymptomatic, to severe symptoms. Now, common symptoms that COVID-19 and flu share include fever or feeling feverish with chills, cough, shortness of breath or difficulty breathing, fatigue, tiredness, sore throat, runny or stuffy nose, muscle pain and body aches, headache, and some people may have vomiting and diarrhea, although this is more common in children than in adults. Now, flu viruses can cause mild to severe illness, including common signs and symptoms that we just listed. Now, COVID-19 seems to cause more serious illnesses in some people. Other than signs and symptoms, they may include change in loss or taste of smell, So a lot of things to be looking at, and reminder that there is a coronavirus acceptance program going on, so you need to have your supporting documents such as your citizen's card ready to upload, copies of a recent pay stub on hand to complete the income section. If you receive SNAP, TANF, commodities, or any other assistance from a federally funded program, have those documents on hand. Okay, well, we hope that you will have a good holiday season. We wish you well, and take care, and we'll be looking for you next week when we start our program again. You've been listening to Mvskoke Radio. Join us again next week for more local, tribal, and community news and updates. Madam.